served in Iraq and Afghanistan. And as they come home and start trying to readjust to the normalcy of life here in America, U.S. Departments of Defense and Veterans Affairs have not been real forthcoming in helping them adjust. And so they're looking at veteran suicides and unemployment. And joining us now on that topic is U.S. Air Force retired Colonel Kimberly Olson. Kimberly, welcome to the Helen Glover Show. Good morning.
Good morning, Helen.
You know, I was looking at our local paper here in Rhode Island. We actually have a pretty good VA office here because the wait time compared to nationally, and I know my husband has dealt with them, a lot of our listeners have dealt with them, all of them tend to give the local VA here some real good credit for really helping. It's not the sluggish process nationally, but tell me about this nationally as people start coming home and we're dealing with the after effects here of people that have maybe seen 3-4 combat tours. They got to adjust to life at home now.
Well, exactly. And let me just say that most vets adjust beautifully back into their respective communities and contribute long after they take off the uniform. I think the frustrating part for them is that these young kids have volunteered to go in harm's way for the rest of us, and to come back and then have a year to 2 year wait just to get seen or to get their respective benefits, I think is, in a way, really insulting.
That's inexcusable.
That these young kids can't, have a timely process procedures in place. And I think the most frustrating thing is that the DOD and the Veterans Administration have been working on this for a number of years, spent a lot of taxpayer dollars to try to make a seamless transition of medical records. And, how if we could put a ship in space, we can certainly figure out a computer program to transition medical records across to agencies.
A country that cannot take care of those that put their life on the line to keep us safe, that's a sorry state of affairs. What
George Washington. Yes.
Exactly. So what can be done, Colonel Olson? What can be done to speed that up? Because that's inexcusable. And are we talking about as they're transitioning out, or we're not talking active duty members, are we?
No, well, active duty actually does a very good job of taking care of its own. The struggle comes when they move active duty to then the Veterans Administration system, that then you've got to validate the injuries, you've got to assign them a disability code, which then drives whether they get medical care. I think because we know the first year is so important that these folks ought to get care within the first year, regardless if they have a rating. Everybody's going to cry because it's like, oh my gosh, the money. But look, it's the pay me now or pay me later. Fix these kids now, you won't have homelessness. Fix these kids now or help them with the transition, and you won't have unemployment. And just speaking of unemployment, how you can help is exactly your point. Local level is the best way to help these folks. And, you want to help a vet, hire them.
Exactly.
They're professional, they work on time. They get safety, they understand problem solving. We know that work makes warriors well. So somebody out there is listening, has the capacity to do, hire them, even part-time, so they can go to school, use the great benefits that are out there, and especially for women. You and I know that women have a bad tendency of taking care of everybody else first and themselves last. And so if you can give the veteran a break by, sending somebody to clean her house or taking care of the kids for a day, just so she's got a chance to kind of breathe and readjust, that would be a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, that's a great point. I heard something, Colonel, on the way in today, and I wish I had, I was in and out of the car and I was rushing and it was a New York station. I heard something about somebody developing an app that takes your MOS in the military and it translates it into terms that an employer understands. And so when you're going out there and you're going to a prospective employer, you don't want to tell them, I was weapons off on the Div Group officer, and you start talking all this, the military talk. So the employer's sitting there going, I don't know. So I heard something about that. I didn't know if you knew anything about that developing an app to take your job in the military and take exactly what you did, and it translates it into civilian terms so that your prospective employer says, oh, that's what you did. You know what? I could use a guy like you or a woman like you.
Exactly. Like most jobs, we have our own lingo and our own acronyms, and sometimes it really is difficult to translate that into the corporate world. But there are a lot of things out there that can help you do exactly that, translate your MOS, which is your military, code for what kind of job you have, into corporate speak so that they get what you're doing. And if anybody wants information about it, you can go to graceafterfire.org, which is our website, and we have links to folks that work hard in the job placement center, because that is a big deal for this particular generation of veterans. Is the unemployment rate is pretty high for this young group.
Exactly, and that's what better job skills. These people know how to get there on time and get the job done. They've got a work ethic that's been instilled in them. They can work under pressure. I mean, these are the people that should be top of your list to hire if possible. I want to talk about some of the good and the bad here. I've got an article in front of me here. We're talking about, we may be talking $6 trillion to care for some of these injured vets that have come home. And this is the good and the bad. I think it was it World War II was the first war that Americans fought where you didn't have more death due to battlefield injury. And, because normally in wars, you got injured, you died. The better the medical care nowadays, these people are coming home, but they're coming home with such traumatic injury that, the good news is, guess what? Your soldier, your sailor, your Marine, they lived, but now they've got a lot to deal with here, and that's a lot of money.
Well, it is, but again, I think that kind of represents a small portion of the folks that are actually coming back, and you're right, they will require care, for the rest of your life. Most of them, if you look at a 2007 RAND study, showed that a $2,000 investment in the vet will save you about $10 million. So the payoff to getting these kids the kind of care they need when they transition is so much greater. Because here's the thing at the end of the day, is these are young folks that are going to continue to contribute to their respective communities.
Yes.
They will pay taxes. They have children. I mean, vets are not isolated islands. They all have lots of people dependent on them, especially women. We know that, again, women are the nucleus of a family, and if I get her well, she'll get her veteran husband and her partner well. And we know that 60% are married. And the other thing is that, never underestimate the power or the lengths that women will go to get their family well. So if you get the female vet well, she gets her family well. If you don't, you lose your family. And I argue that's probably the same in a lot of the male situation. So it's not like you're just investing in a person, you're investing in an entire family.
Absolutely. Great advice, and this is something that we need to really pay attention to, because as our men and women are coming home and transitioning back into civilian life, we really need to make sure that there's no excuse for the Defense Department here to be sluggish in getting some of these people processed. Colonel Kimberly Olson, U.S. Air Force retired. Enjoyed the conversation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alan. Thanks for giving vets a voice.
Absolutely, anytime.